I'm at AusPack 2022 during the bump-in phase. All the displays are being set up. Exhibitors are bringing all their machinery, all their equipment in, putting up very impressive displays. It's a big investment. And as a B2B marketer, the question I have in my mind that I'm hoping I'm going to answer is the investment in trade shows worth it?
It's a question many organisations regularly ask, either because they spend a lot of money on trade shows and have difficulty justifying the cost, or because there are so many other ways to spend money on marketing. Not the least of which is the rise of online promotion with the promise of providing detailed data and impressive charts. There are over 200 companies exhibiting here. Can they all be making a big mistake and investing in a form of marketing that has been superseded by the little screen? It's not hard to see where the money is spent. An army is hard at work transforming empty floor space. That's a lot of salaries and wages. Exhibitors are competing for forklifts, boom lifts, electricians, compressed airlines and display companies to build their stands. Each of these suppliers sends you an invoice. As a marketing agency specialising in industrial products and services, this isn't our first trade show and neither for our client, robotic automation. Getting value from trade shows starts before the doors open.
So the robotic automation stand is almost completed as part of AusPack 2022 at the MCEC. The show starts tomorrow, May 17th. Please come down and visit us at the booth. We'd love to chat to you about your automation needs. See you then.
Rather than just wander around, I thought I would ask some of the people at this trade show, why are they exhibiting and what do they hope to get out of it? So Bill, I'm here to answer the question, are trade shows worth it?
They are, to a degree, but they're getting far too expensive. Look at the stand, look at a 9x9, think about it when it's around about nearly $400 a square metre. So there's $30,000 on the floor space, another $40,000 to set it up, with all the graphics and everything else. Another good $30,000-$40,000 on the equipment alone. And then there's probably another $10,000-$15,000 of people's time on the stand. So it adds up. And I think for 4 days, you can get some return on investment. But you want some good quality people coming through. Starting to see that at this exhibition, more so than probably in the last 10 years, to be quite honest, Everett. But I would say that that's mainly due to the fact that we haven't probably had a good show for about 2.5 years. So what we have noticed though in this exhibition, that less people, sometimes less is more. Good quality people coming through, good quality leads, not the volume that we're expecting. Exhibition's always going to be there, but honestly I think that with the price increase of everything, trying to run a business, trying to maintain a business and trying to keep our prices down for our customers, this type of thing needs to come to the party as well, I think.
Cost depends on how big you go and how much you invest to impress. Whatever you spend, you'll be thinking about alternative marketing methods and wondering if they might be more effective.
So I was just talking to one business owner exhibiting here, asked him the question, are trade shows worth it? And his answer was absolutely. And what he pointed out was, right now standing here, he said, my business is living off customers that we met at trade shows 2 to 3 years ago. Because that's the length of the sales cycle. That's how long it takes to find a new customer and then engage with them, find out their needs, develop a solution, and then put that proposal to them. They then take it to their capital projects people, and then could take another 6 to 12 months before that expenditure is approved. So you can see the sales cycle is very long. And his point was, if you expect to make a sale here at this trade show, you're missing the point.
Roughly 70% of what is being displayed is not off the shelf. Most of it requires design and engineering input. The sales cycles are long.
What I think we've seen here over the last few days is that I think trade shows are important to bring the industry together. What we're seeing is a lot of good conversations happening with customers and exhibitors and suppliers and even competitors as to how things are happening in the industry, and I think it's great to see people come together. In terms of external trade shows, we've done a number of little ones around the place, and we've done some internationally as well. So for our type of machinery or our type of equipment, you're not going to sell something off the stand specifically. What you're going to do is make a contact with a person that's looking to do something and then work through a potential solution at a later stage when they're ready to move.
I've been asking exhibitors the question, are trade shows worth it? And run into the oldest problem in advertising and marketing.
The problem with working out are trade shows worth it is attribution. How do you attach a revenue event that happens in the future with a trade show in the past when the sales cycle can be 6 months to 3 years? It's not an insoluble problem, but it's one that many organisations aren't set up to achieve, because it takes systems and it takes discipline to make sure that the data is entered correctly and tracked all the way through to the end, and it takes a person to be responsible for it that can hold their hand on their chest and say, I can tell you exactly where every single sale came from and what form of marketing produced it.
People wonder if they would be better investing trade show money in online lead generation. However, measuring return on investment for long sales cycles is no easier. Once the lead leaves the digital world and enters the sales department, the outcomes are no longer reported in analytics. You're on your own. You can put a number on it if you want, and provided it isn't too costly to do so, you probably should. But it seems to many of the exhibitors the answer is the bleeding obvious. When you pick up $1 million contract resulting from a trade show, you can do the numbers in your head.
The ability to showcase your product in a glamorous environment, bright, lots of colourful displays, lots of things happening, lots of moving parts, machinery in action. It's a great selling atmosphere. It's a great place to showcase your brand and showcase your product. And everyone who comes here, all the visitors, understand this is a selling environment. They expect to talk to people about the products and services. And so it's just the most natural place to have a sales conversation.
And it's been a great opportunity talking to our customers, existing and future, hopefully, customers. We've had a lot of inquiries, and definitely it's been worthwhile so far for us. Yeah. We are specialised in bespoke machinery, basically building here in Melbourne, Australia. We've got 2 examples of what we do: topping any sort of confectionery with all sorts of nuts and chocolate and coconut powder.
So this is the kind of machine that will be integrated into a line?
Correct. So
Right.
this would be going into a chocolate factory coming out of a chocolate enrober, all the way going into packing after this towards the end of the line. Can be customised to different applications. We've had quite a lot of interest.
As one CEO said to me, where else can I have 120 meetings in the space of 3 days with people in the industry directly either associated with or right in the target audience that I'm trying to hit? It would take over a year to set up those conversations. And here's the point. You have a telephone call coming in, you have an email coming in, you have not yet got a live person to speak to. Here, You jump all that and you go straight to the face-to-face meeting. They're there to talk to you on the spot, and you've got your equipment and your displays nearby. It's a relaxed atmosphere, and you can suddenly have a long conversation with a potential customer at the drop of a hat.
I'd suggest if you're living off the leads that you had from trade shows a few years ago, you probably need to look at your lead generation in your business to bolster it elsewhere. But from our perspective, it brings a new opportunity to find new leads. We do get a lot of leads outside of trade shows coming through the business, but I do think it's a valuable source of not only developing leads for projects, but also developing market presence. If we weren't here as Fibre King, I think people would start to question, well, where's Fibre King? Why aren't they here? And having that brand presence in the industry is very important for that inbound inquiry outside of trade shows.
Trade shows aren't the only form of marketing and should be used in conjunction with other promotion techniques, particularly inbound marketing. Done properly, all marketing activities should work synergistically.
Well, it's day 3 of the show. Big dinner last night. There's a few people with hangovers. Kind of hard to stand on your feet all day long in a stand when you're hungover. But that's all part of the fun of trade shows.
One of the reasons why I chose a career as a marketer specialising in technical products and services is because I really enjoy the technology.
One of the things I love about trade shows is seeing the technology in action. Brad. Right. Nice to meet you, Brad.
For all the talk about branding, showcasing your product, networking and having a good time, what about sales? After all, we are comparing trade shows with other ways to generate sales leads and finding new customers. Do trade shows stack up?
You've been doing trade shows for a while.
35 years, yeah.
What's the answer to the question, are trade shows worth it?
I think so. Over the whole scheme of things, there's sometimes there's something happening politically or environmentally or whatever that might make that show a bit worse than it could have been. The vast majority of the shows I've been to have been happy with, and it's worth it.
I'm starting to get a solid picture. Trade shows are more than just a flag-waving exercise. The exhibitors are here to generate sales leads. They do this primarily by meeting with people ready to start the buying process and through gaining market intelligence.
What we find is it's a really good way to meet people that are looking to do projects now or looking to do something in the future.
Trade shows are not the only form of marketing. They work as part of an integrated marketing strategy. More than just showcasing your product, you can use trade shows to develop content to feed your online presence. It's not a case of choosing trade shows over other forms of promotion. It's about developing a synergistic program.
You can't find everything on the internet. And walking around here, the people attending this trade show, locked away in people's heads is information about what's going on in the industry. New projects that are coming up, new technologies, who's changed jobs, which distributorships have recently changed hands. This is valuable market intelligence that is not always available on the internet, either because it's not allowed to be there or people just haven't got around to putting it there.
I've probably met an equal amount of good clients here as I have suppliers and friends and catching up, and just found out some people have moved to somewhere that I didn't know, and now I know, and that's useful information. Goss, you could call it. It's very, very important in business.
Does that translate into sales though?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Being a great place to display your technology, trade shows traditionally have been used to launch new products to the market.
We've got a new product we've launched here, which has got a lot of attention. Our slab cutters coming to market later in the year. Ultrasonic slab cutter, first in Australia. designed and built in Melbourne. So it will be interesting to see what comes out of it. We're just launching it right here at the show.
Just talking to some guys on the stand just then, and they said that they had a visit from a large food and beverage processing company, and showed a lot of interest in their gear, and I had to say to them, "Look, you guys are already using our equipment." They didn't know. This is what happens in companies all the time. Staff move on. The people that you were dealing with last time are no longer there. And it's becoming harder and harder to get into these companies to sell your products. Trade shows is one way around that. There are a lot of very experienced exhibitors here, people who've been doing trade shows for years. So I asked them, what do you think about trade shows? And they said, look, we wouldn't be here if we didn't think it was going to work. And my question was, how do you judge that? How do you work out which trade shows to be at? And the answer is experience. They know looking at certain trade shows and experience from being at the trade show last time, how it's going to perform. And as one marketer pointed out to me, he said there are good trade shows and there are bad trade shows. Like everything else in promotion, there's good and bad. Being selective about what trade shows that you're at is part of how you maximise the value of trade shows.
Look, I think plan, see other shows, get ideas, walk around other shows and see what other people are doing and just sort of try and get a big picture. The best ideas aren't always the most expensive ones.
If you're going to invest in buying space at a trade show, don't scrimp on what you do with that space. This is an opportunity to showcase your brand and showcase your products. And part of the art of trade shows is attracting people's interest. So a well-positioned stand, a stand where something's actually happening, it's a movement, is very, very important.
People just need to be there to make that connection. Different things are going to work for different companies.
The general consensus from talking to people about their activities at trade shows and how to get success out of them, it's a simple concept, which is follow-up. One of the big challenges a lot of the exhibitors have pointed out to me is they spend a couple of weeks getting ready for the trade show, they come here, they set up, and that resource has been taken away from other sales activity. So after the trade show, they get back to the office and go, whew, thank God that's over. Look at their in-tray and start addressing that. And it can sometimes be weeks, months before they get around to following up from the trade show. Or sometimes they just don't get around to it. And that's when the question gets asked, what do we get out of that trade show? Not much. Follow-up is very important. This is a networking event. This is a chance to catch up with people that you've met in the past and to meet new people that you can add to your network. But with long sales cycles, there is the chance that the person that you met today here at this trade show is no longer working for that organisation during the sales cycle. They could move on. So you need more than one relationship. So you actually have to track three things. You have to track the project opportunity, the people involved in that organisation, and keep track of the organisation itself. That's three things to keep track of. If you're an organisation is involved in outbound telemarketing, the quality of the list that you're using to make contact with prospective customers is a very important factor. And rather than buying lists, which generally is fairly ineffective, the best list that you can get is the list that you create yourself. And at trade shows, it's a great opportunity to find a lot of people to put onto that list that are relevant. One good thing to come out of COVID is the rise of the QR code. Before COVID came along, not enough people knew what they were or how to use them. And now, they're everywhere.
Each salesperson on the stand can install an app that scans visitor passes. The full list can be downloaded at the end of the show. Scan first, ask questions later.
So what's the answer? Are trade shows worth it?
There are mixed opinions. That's because there's mixed results. But in general, most people I've spoken to here believe that trade shows are definitely worth the expense, definitely worth the effort. You have to be realistic about how long it takes to achieve results. There are products here that can be sold at the trade show, but most of them are selling solutions, and so what you hope to achieve from a trade show is a good sales lead that you can then follow up later on and work out their requirements, develop a solution, eventually leads to a sale. Trade shows aren't going to work every time for every company. They're not a cure for other deficiencies in the marketing mix. You have to have the right products at the right price, the distribution. Trade shows are just one part of the promotions mix. Trade shows are no different. And there are good shows and there are bad shows, so you need to be selective about which shows that you go to. What you do at the show, how you exploit the real estate that you buy at a trade show is a critical factor. Don't scrimp. Make sure that you have a good stand that's well designed, that showcases your products and services effectively and your company brand. And there are other benefits from trade shows in terms of market research, intelligence gathering, finding out what other industry players are up to. Walking around here you can see new technologies, and even if they aren't in the same space that you play in, can give you clues as to what customers are looking for and how it's going to affect your products, your services in the future. You wouldn't come to trade shows as an exhibitor just for the market intelligence, but it is a big benefit. There are clues that you can obtain from industry contacts, things that they wouldn't normally talk about if you just pick the phone up and ask them. So my conclusion is that trade shows are definitely worthwhile, provided that you do them correctly. And apart from which, they're great fun. And I think sometimes sales teams need a fun event on their calendar, and sales teams sell better when they're having fun. And that's one of the other benefits of trade shows.